Hello and welcome to the first ever Basketball Productions Top 10 list. In today's video, we will be covering the top 10 most impactful political assassinations of all time. Slightly morbid, I know. Before we get into our list, I want to talk about some honorable mentions. These are people who weren't necessarily political figures, but their deaths inspired important political events. These people are George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. Their deaths were obviously involved in the recent Black Lives Matter movement, and their names are definitely worth saying. So, let's get into our list. At number 10, we have Malcolm X. Assassinated on February 21st, 1965, Malcolm X was a prominent African-American leader during the Civil Rights Movement. He opposed Martin Luther King's nonviolence with his protect yourself at any means necessary mentality. He regularly butted heads with the Islamic Nation, and 3 Islam Nation members were charged with murder following his death, but speculation about the nation's involvement persists to this day. The reason his death is as low as it is because it holds no real significance, as the national media treated it as essentially any other black-on-black murder. If this list were based on the man's life, he'd be much higher, but because it's based on the impact that the death had, he's at the bottom. At number 9, we have former President James Garfield. Assassinated on September 19, 1881, James Garfield was the 20th U.S. president. He was killed by Charles J. Guiteau, who had gone slightly insane after writing one of Garfield's speeches. Garfield ignored most of the speech that Guiteau wrote, but Guiteau insisted he was a large part of Garfield's victory and wanted an award. He then wanted revenge when he was denied this honor. Garfield's death led to the Pendleton Civil Service Act, which reformed the civil service system and established that federal jobs should be awarded based on merit rather than political patronage. At number 8, we have Mahatma Gandhi. Assassinated on January 30th, 1948, Gandhi was the leader of the Indian nationalist movement against British rule and a global symbol for nonviolence. He was killed by Nathuram Godse, who believed Gandhi had betrayed his Hindu religion by supporting Muslims, putting other Hindus at risk. Violence, including rioting and arson, erupted in Bombay and other parts of India following his death, and it also strengthens secularists within the government. At number 7, we have Qasem Soleimani. Assassinated on January 3rd, 2020, Soleimani was a top Iranian military commander. He was killed during a drone strike done by the U.S. military. U.S. officials justified the strike, claiming it was necessary to stop an imminent attack, though later claimed it was in response to an escalating series of events. So, their story changed. It was led to 2 bombings in American bases and a Ukrainian passenger aircraft being shot down, killing all 176 innocent people on board. It could have been a lot higher on this list, as some said it had the potential to reach World War III. But most tension fizzled out, and no attacks have been made since. At number 6, we have William McKinley. Assassinated on September 14, 1901, McKinley was the 25th U.S. president. He was killed by Leon Sagalas because he thought that McKinley was the head of a corrupt government. It's a simpler time. His death led to the creation of the Secret Service, as presidential security was extremely lax before this and needed a major boost in power. The Secret Service today now does a lot more than protect, but that's another discussion. At number 5, this is where we start with the good ones, we have Julius Caesar. Assassinated on March 15th, 44 BC, Julius Caesar was a Roman emperor a long, long time ago. He was killed during a conspiracy of about 60 senators, including his friend Brutus, amid fears he planned to claim the title of king, overthrow the Senate, and rule as a tyrant. Yeah, I understand why, but it's a lot. His death led to a series of civil wars and had the opposite effects that the senators wanted, as much of the Roman public now hated their guts. The event marked the end of the Roman Republic and the start of the Roman Empire, led by Augustus Caesar. I don't know about you, I've never heard of the Roman Republic. I've only heard of the Roman Empire. Shows how significant this is. At number 4, we have Martin Luther King Jr. Assassinated on April 4th, 1968, MLK was an American civil rights leader. He was killed by James Earl Ray, whose motives aren't really known, as he originally confessed but later says he was part of a conspiracy and claims that he is innocent. No one really knows. His death radicalized many moderate African American activists fueling the civil rights movement. There were riots in over 100 cities, including burning and looting. It also sped up the passage of the Equal Housing Bill, the last major legislative work of the Civil Rights era. At number 3, we have John F. Kennedy. Assassinated on November 22nd, 1963, JFK was the 35th U.S. president. It's believed he was killed by former Marine Lee Harvey Oswald on live television. Oswald never stood trial as he was shot while being taken into custody. There are many conspiracies on who killed JFK, but none carry enough weight to have proof to be proven. It helped pass the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act, solidifying JFK's support of civil rights. Anyone who was alive at the time can be asked, where were you when you found out about JFK? They'll tell you. His spot at number 3 is well deserved, in my opinion, of course. At number 2, we have Abraham Lincoln. Assassinated on April 14th, 1865, Lincoln was the 16th U.S. president. He was killed by John Wilkes Booth, a white supremacist and Confederate sympathizer. See, the Civil War had just ended, and the North had won, Lincoln being the head of the North, so tensions were high. His death meant that VP Andrew Johnson took over, who was a former slaveholder and Southern senator who remained loyal to the Union during the Civil War. Why Lincoln chose him to VP, I will never, ever understand. It's beyond the point. He was a lot more lenient on former Confederates and didn't follow through with Lincoln's policies, slowing the progressive freedom of African Americans gained. It's popular because it was Abraham Lincoln. Many people don't understand the significance that it held. Hence, its place in second. And at number 1, we have Franz Ferdinand. Anyone who is familiar with history probably should have seen this coming. Assassinated on June 28, 1914, Ferdinand was the Archduke/heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary. He was killed by Gavrilo Princip, a Serbian man, and it remains unclear to this day whether the Serbian government was involved. Austria-Hungary was rightfully very upset about this and got German support against Serbia, eventually leading to Russia, France, Belgium, Montenegro, and Great Britain into the conflict, leading to what we now know as World War I. So, that's it for today's top 10 list. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you disagree with any of my ratings, or believe I missed anything significant or anybody significant, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.